So I want to talk to you about soul shards. Um, Anyone who does like shamanic journeying has heard this expression, I'm sure. Um, well, there you go. Okay, cool. So, soul shards are when a fragment of your soul is given to or held by someone else. Um, traditionally, traditionally, a soul shard retrieval is like this shamanic ceremony where you're not even an active participant. The shaman goes in and follows the energetic line of your shard, finds out who is holding your shard, which may be someone in this life, someone in a past life, it may be a demon or a trickster or an elemental being or whatever, and has to bargain for the release of your shard. So say an elemental being found a fragment of your soul shard in a cave somewhere. And it's like, oh, it's mine now. Hee, mine. Which does happen. Or maybe, um, exactly. It does happen. Or if you're in a traumatic situation, a fragment of your shard can remain there, which is one reason why it's important to recover from trauma so that your entire soul can, otherwise, a part of you is always stuck in that place, like literally, as well as, or if you have, say, you and someone have fallen in love and you feel like you are one person and then you get on each other's nerves and you break up, that person may still have a shard of your soul and you want it back. They're not going to give it back. They're like, no, I want to hold on to this connection. So the shaman will go and bargain with on a soul level for your soul shard. And they will offer like, oh, instead of that soul or that shard, don't you want this nice bright feather or this bead or a pebble or a wisp of winds. And then that being will go, ooh, a wisp of wind, I like that. Here you go. And then the shaman returns to you and ceremoniously puts the shard back in your being, and then you feel complete again. Um, and so in modern day shamanic ceremony, you're an active participant with the shaman, or they will guide you to do your own through a journeying process, do your own bargaining for your soul shard. Um, so the first time I did one of these ceremonies where there was a group of us and learning soul retrieval, and I wanted to learn the soul retrieval process. So we all sat in a group and everyone's going and they're bargaining. And we were told for this class, just bargain for small shards. Like if you were, say, like horribly abused and, when you were a child, like don't go after that soul shard while in a group workshop. Like go after like your 12th birthday party that you don't, or whatever. Like you do something nice. Like don't do the big one. So everyone's offering these soul shard retrievals, and they're having, we're in silent meditation. But I'm like, okay, do I have any parts of my soul that are not here? And I could feel there were a few places where I was missing part of my soul. And I looked and I could see lines of energy going out from me that I knew were connected to where the shard was. I'm like, oh, okay, well, come on back. And I went, and all my soul shards were back within me. I was like, yeah, I'm like, no, I got another 20 minutes. um, well, I just wanted my shard back. I didn't want their energy. So I just called my pure shard to me. So that's all I got. Um, it took me, I was like, well, I'm not learning anything. But then when I heard the process that everyone else went through, And I had a dual response. One, how interesting that you can bargain. Like it's not like I'll give you $1 million for my soul shard. What is of value in spirit is not what's of value in our everyday work life kind of existence. Because in spirit, they care about what's real. Whereas in everyday life, we're pursuing an illusion: money, promotion, fancy cars, bigger houses. These aren't actually real because we create them from our imagining. So as we go through everyday life, that which we consider imaginary, which is a wisp of wind or a spirit feather, that's real. And what we consider real in our everyday life is not real. It's an illusion. So we spend most of our time living in an illusion. The more we energetically detach from the illusion and allow ourselves to just exist within the true reality, the easier everything goes, because then we're not putting all of our energy and value in an illusion. And so, like, calling my shards to me was something that was easy for me just because of where I am in my, you know, overall development, and that I have lived the majority of my existence sort of a solitary being. So I'm used to being able to do things for myself. Before I started incarnating as human, I was a very solitary being. So, and I traveled a great deal through dimensions. So I got used to taking care of myself. And now that comes in handy for the work I do. But claiming your soul shards. The reasons why we give our shards, as I said, if you want to reclaim them, you really need to check the resonance of the energy of your relationship with whatever is holding your shard to figure out how to claim it. And that's a whole other class. For this class, I want to go over the best reason to give a shard. So when we're in life and we give our shards, sometimes we can't give them back because we're in life, so our ego is involved, and the desire to claim and own things is involved. No, it's mine. You can't have it back, but it's mine. I want it back. This is all ego driven. The kind of soul shards that we're going to talk about for the Akashic Records is one without ego. And it's actually absolutely lovely. Suppose I'm going into life and I want someone to come along to help me. Like, suppose I'm going into life to learn a lesson that I am having trouble with. And the last 3 lives in a row, maybe I've been trying to learn this lesson, and while I'm learning the other lessons, this one is not working for me. And it might be a personality trait that Susan's higher self has managed very well in her lives. So I might say, Susan, can you give me a shard of your soul to go with me into this life so that I can use your energy and your skill with this particular challenge to help me get over the hurdle? And you'll go, yeah, sure, of course. I would enjoy that too. So she gives me a shard of her soul, and it helps me as I go through the journey. I might actually ask Rodrigo, you're also really good with this. Can you also give me a shard? It would be great to have, and the way you handled it was so elegant that I would like to have that as well. So then I know I'm set. I'm going to manage the challenge. Because one thing we know for sure, if you have a challenge and you do your best to handle it, but it's not working out, next life you have to do it again, or pretty soon you need to do it again. It's waiting for you. At some point you're going to have to handle it. But if you go in for a challenge and you're blowing it off, the next life, it's going to be harder. Okay? It's going to be like, oh, why did I blow it off last time? So, exactly. So it behooves us and our higher selves know if we've got a challenge to learn, we really want to do our best to learn it. when I come back from life, I give you back your soul shards. Because there's no ego involved. And I'm like, thank you so much. And you both go, oh, that's great. It was really fun being part of that. Because even though it's not your primary life, you may have been living another life while your shard was with me. There's a part of you that was there with me as well. The other time you would send a soul shard is I would say, hey, I'm going in for this challenge that actually I know will be a cakewalk for me because I've done it before. I'm pretty good at it, but I know it's not my primary challenge, but it's in there, in the mix while I'm working on my primary challenge. So I know that you, Susan, have trouble with this challenge. You've been tripping up on it a few times. So send a shard with me so that you can have a wonderful experience with this challenge. When I come back and I give you back the shard and you go into your next life and face that challenge, you already have a success energy in you to help you with it.
Never heard this before.
Oh, yeah.
I've done soul retrieval, but I've never heard it.
Yeah, it can be as much as you want. Like we say shard because it's just like a fragment.
Mm-hmm.
You might hear soul, fragment, splinter, shard. I like shard because splinter and fragment have so many different meanings to them. And it's just like a little bit. Give a little bit of your heart. Give a little bit of yourself. Now, another time when someone may have soul shards is if someone's going in for a big life and they know that they're going to be learning a big lesson or they may be actually affecting the world, like Jesus, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, King Henry, King Arthur, any of these people who are big movers and shakers, but they impact the world in a positive way. Okay. So, like Hitler is not in this category. Trump is not in this category. Okay. They're like so off their paths. Of course, Hitler was completely dissolved, sent back to the source to be reabsorbed because no one would ever want any part of it in them after what he did. But of course, what he did was not planned and it was not supposed to happen. But, madmen don't go with the patterns of nature. However, while he was doing all of that, and he interrupted a lot of life patterns for people, it wasn't just the destruction he created, it's all these souls that were on their life paths were, forget it. But at the same time, there were a lot of souls that went, oh, quick, there's a lot of major life lessons to be learned. And so there was a lot of people who jumped into life during the whole Hitler regime to have that experience. Mm-hmm. And that was not just babies being born, although there were a lot of babies born during that time. But it was also like if someone dies, another soul will jump into their body, which is one reason why people who were in all those horrible situations in the concentration camps and the, everything that you're like, why are they still alive? There have probably been 4 or 5 or 8 souls going through that life during that time just to experience this and get like, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, horror and suffering. And so once again, remember what we consider a great life and what our higher selves consider a great life. They're looking for lessons learned. I got a lot of humility out of the way. I got a lot of whatever.
Passion.
Exactly. Yeah. So sorry, that was a segue. So if you have someone going into life who is going to have a huge positive impact, again, think Jesus, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Buddha, all of these guys and gals, and Mother Mary, Father Mary, Bride Mary, as well as Jesus. When they go in, they say, hey, everyone, I'm going in for a big life, anyone who wants to come along, give me one of your shards, and I could use the extra energy. I could use the support. Everyone wants to have a cheering section and like the extra like vitamins that you get with all those souls. So everyone come along and join me, and you will have the ride of your life, as well as really help me because I need help. So when they go into life, they've got all this extra support, plus we get all that extra experience. Very much. Yes. Actually, yes. Very much like that. Now, many of these, and then when they come back, they give back the shards.
Mm-hmm.
And all they have to do is like, here you go. And the shards are like, yeah, back into wherever they belong. Because again, our lines of light connect us. This is one reason why you're like, oh my God, I did a past life regression. Yet another person thought they were Cleopatra. Yet another, like, because many of us were. Exactly. Cleopatra had a lot of shards helping her through that life. The other thing is many of these people, not their whole existence necessarily, but those big lives, they then want to make public access record in the Akashic Records. So you can go into the Akashic Records and read a public access life. You don't just read your book. Now you can't go in, like I can't go in and read George's life. If I try to pull your book off the shelf, exactly. For me, what happens is suddenly all these books are falling on me, and I'm falling like Alice down the rabbit hole with all these books falling on me. And then, like after what seems like an eternity of being plummeted by books while I'm plummeting down, I fall like 2 feet and land on the library floor, and the librarian's looking at me like, So, exactly. And if you ever want to try the experience, go and try to pull someone's book off the shelf, and you will see what happens. You will not be able to read their book unless it's a public access book. And yeah, and we'll get into reading for others in a bit. So there is, for me, when I go in the library, there's one area where there's just filled with public access books. It's just one room, and you can read anything you want in that room. If you ask your librarian for it, or if you say, and to begin with, because it really, like, these public access figures have very, very high vibrations, and, they did not lead easy lives. Like we think our lives are hard. Jesus definitely had a demanding life. And for all that time, he had to maintain faith. Like, so you might want to just ask them, give me a public access book to read. Because there are also some people who are like, yeah, I'm Joe Schmo, but that life I lived was kind of fun. I'd like other people to read it. But then no one does, because no one thinks to ask for Joe Schmo's life. So you can, let the library know, give me any easy to manage public access story. And when you read it, you can feel how it's not your story. It's someone else's story. But at the same time, it's really fun. And then work your way up to, like, I haven't read Jesus's life, but Mother Mary and Father Joseph sometimes come and talk with me. And Mother Mary says, everyone talks about, what did she say? She's like so funny. She's so funny. I don't know if anyone else here has ever talked with Mary. Yeah. She's got a,
she's helpful. She's soft and helpful.
Yeah. And she said to me, every single major figure on our planet through history has had a mother, but I'm the only mother that anyone really remembers. Yeah. And she said, it's for a reason. She said, think about what it's like to be the mother of Jesus. when he was a little kid and he was skinny and he was the son of God and everyone knew it. And he was just like basically this weird nerdy kid who would spout off things and channel things and like talk to angels. She said he got beat up. Like I had to be there to protect him and look out for him. And I had to go and say, "Hey, you bullies, stay away from my little Jesus." And like she came to, she was telling me what it was like to mother him when he was a little kid. She's, it was nerve wracking. Exactly. Yeah. So the body of Mary was a human body, and but the energy of Mary and the energy of Joseph they're both ascended masters, and just as Jesus' energy is ascended master energy. So Jesus went to, Jesus higher being went to Mary and Joseph higher being and said, "Will you be my parents for this?" So they all knew what they were getting into. But of course, when they were in life, she said when she was a little girl, she didn't know what she was getting into, but she had visions, she had flash forwards, so it wasn't a big surprise. So they're very interesting people to talk to. Father Joseph is like the kindest, nicest energy ever. He's just like, and he's so proud of all of us. He's just like the ultimate father. So anyway, just to take it back, if you want to walk the path of Jesus, most likely you already have some level of connection because he got a lot of shards, like billions. Everyone wanted to join with that life, and he needed all the support. Yeah, exactly. So it's a matter. So you can like get used to reading open access stories on on a lower vibration, like closer to our normal vibration, rather than like shoot for them up there. But also become open with in your meditations, inviting Jesus and Mary and Joseph to come and talk with you. Jesus often pals around with Metatron and Archangel Michael, so often if you call for one, you might get all three. That's pretty cool. Right. Now, when you do an Akashic reading for one of your lives where you were a soul shard, it will feel differently from when you do a primary life reading. For me, when I do enter a soul shard life, it's a little disorienting for me at first, and everything's like if I'm just use visual as an example, if I'm seeing a regular life visually, it will be all like technicolor, stereophonic sound, beauty. If I see a soul shard life, it'll be more like in sepia tones and a little more disjointed. And the whole life is not as available to me as the parts of the life that are relevant for my shard's reason for being there. Mm-hmm. Because again, if I do a reading for someone, their information would stay with me because it's not relevant for me. So when our shard goes into a past life, only the part of that life that's relevant for you is the part that it really holds on to. So it's a slightly different experience. What I'd like to do is, okay, I want to run through PowerPoint real quick, and then we'll take, if people need a short break, but then I want to do a soul shard meditation. Okay. Yeah. And that's the thing, when shards of your soul are missing, you may actually feel extremely fragmented there. But I love this because the idea of creating life really is a multi-soul situation sometimes. Um, okay, so that's on your flyer that we just created. So here's the thing: you can call all your shards to yourself. And Susan, if your past life is holding an energy hostage, you can consider that a soul retrieval situation. And one way to heal that is just as I did with Dudley, the guy who was a slave before Jesus in Athens, and I took him to a sacred place and showed him all the amazing lives that have lived because of his existence. Where he feels like he's not like grandfather and big brother and he's not alone. Um, you can sit with this Sue lady, yeah, woman, and show her how her state of being has impacted future lives, and it's time to release and reclaim love and help heal her in a sacred way.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so sharing a soul shard. Okay, that's a good tongue twister. It's a contractual experience, um, and your shards are always returned. They are never held on. Um, so when you go into the soul shard, the reading will not be as strong. It will actually take more focus to be in there. Um, and I like that one. That's just like,
That's beautiful.
I know, I know. Some of these, I cruised all over the internet looking for these pictures, and some of them just felt like this was a physical resonance of what I was energetically feeling. But yes, yeah. Here's in this picture. I feel like here's someone who is receiving a lot of shards from a lot of people, so that they've just got a lot of extra energy. Um, and okay, the public access records often are in a separate section of the library. Often they are perceived as being behind a vault, in a vault, or behind some sort of barricade. And part of that reason is a lot of people who go into the library are only interested in reading their book or reading the book of a client or someone who asked them to read for them. I mean, seriously, there is so much in the Akashic Records. There's like, you can go visit other dimensions, all kinds of stuff. But you might find if you go to ask for a public access book, it will be like through some kind of vault, or it'll be an area that's like more cluttered than the regular library. Um, or some people feel like you walk into an area where the books are all around you and you just grab the one you want from the air. They're kind of gently circling around you, almost like when you go to an animal shelter and the dogs are like, "Oh, choose me, choose me, choose me," because these lives often feel like they want to be read. Um, and some people, when they go in, it's like that thing where you go in the Greek temple and the orbs come down and float into your hands. They have that sort of experience when they do the public access. Okay. Um, Important to remember about reading for others, and we won't really have time to do that today, and that's not really, I'd rather focus on shards anyway, but just always with permission. If you do try to read for someone without permission, you may find the books just like slam into you or they shut you out. Or if you really force it, you'll get a forced ego driven reading that is not accurate. Okay. So sometimes someone will come up to me and say, "Oh, I read your Akashic records and I healed you from some past life." I'm like, no, yes, yes. Someone who thought that they were being helpful, and I said that was not my life. And they said, "Well, whose life was it? It wasn't mine." I'm like, no, it's a life that the librarians made up for you to trick you so you would stop what you were trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sort of like telling children you need to be good because Santa's coming soon. um, and again, like I always have books falling all over me. When I was I love this one with the hand sticking. You better watch out. Santa's gonna get you. I know. Ever since I was a child, I wondered about that one. Okay, so this is just letting you know no one can access your records without your permission. And even if you give permission, if your higher self does not want that person in, then they probably can't get in. And even if you and your higher self want that person in, if the librarian's like, oh no, then you have so many layers of protection between people just going and randomly reading your records. There are also records of yours that, like, I have total memory of all my existence, but I have little blackout areas where they're like, yeah, it would depress you if you saw what a jerk you were in that life. So you can see the first 3 years, and the rest is like blacked out. Like, oh, yeah. Um, it's all about love. It's all about love. Yeah, I love that. Right. And it's all about getting to know your true self. Okay. So does anyone need to use the restroom before we? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I had a couple of slides that I thought were somehow. Oh, they got put together. So this is like in the tree, different like images of what it might look like when you're in the tree. Yeah. Yeah. So, and every time you enter your library, no matter what, it can seem different. It was just an elevator to us. And I love that one. And okay, so before I put the PowerPoint on YouTube with the other videos, I'll make sure to fix the slides so they're in the right